I'm delighted to present the work of photography winner Ingrid Weyland. She is Argentinian, and this is a series called Topographies of Fragility. From the very beginning, this work stood out to us, and specifically to me, I feel like the artist has conceived of a really unique way to express and comment on the climate emergency. She has done something quite simple, but it's incredibly inventive. She has taken photographs of landscapes from her travels, pristine, very alluring photographs, and she has taken a copy of that photograph and been very aggressive with it. From working in photography, I find an imperfect photograph something that brings panic. And I think that panic and that distress in seeing a destroyed image is something she's playing with really actively and is incredibly interesting. As she says, you know, a trace will always persist. When something's crumpled and destroyed, it's almost impossible to bring it to perfection again. And I think the oscillation between the sort of three-dimensionality of the crumpled image and this kind of flat perfection of the image in the background is really beautiful and incredibly special in her work. Yeah. So as the climate emergency becomes a greater and greater concern and people are paying much more attention, I think work that tackles this subject is incredibly important to commend and bring to light. So I think the judging panel found Ingrid's work to be of a very high level, and it really beautifully and eloquently communicates the issues at hand. And I think this very inventive way that she's found to communicate her message is what really made it stand out. And I think it's really important work. It's an ongoing series, so I'm fascinated to see what comes from it. And, yeah.
I have always been very attracted to nature. It has always been my safe place. When I get to a new place, I don't immediately start shooting. I need some time to adapt, to connect with the place, and I need silence. Silence is very important for me. That is mainly what I try to convey through my images, a sense of solitude, silence, and introspection. After a few photography trips to different countries, I realized that I had achieved quite a collection of images. And after my third trip to Iceland, which I fell in love with, I was overwhelmed by the changes I noticed since my last visit. Many changes in landscapes. The amount of tourists doubled or tripled, and you can see traces of this on the landscapes. Traces of prints from cars. When I went back home, I tried to convey what I had lived. I had lots of prints from my trips, and because of space, I had to discard a few of them. Once I grabbed one and I crumpled it and I threw it away at the bin. And immediately when I did that, I sensed that maybe that was the way that we treat nature, as if something disposable. After this trip to Iceland, I went to Greenland, where icebergs come in different shapes and sizes. There was like a really big iceberg, faceted one, and the light reflected in different ways. Again, that looked to me as paper. Back home and thinking about the vulnerability of nature, I started to work on enacting violent gestures on the paper, reshaping them until they became something unrecognizable, in the same way that humans alter landscapes. All my works are subjected to the same kind of treatment. I take very careful consideration which is the next landscape that I will subject to my violence. For me, it's a sacrifice, because once I alter this image, I can never think of it again as it was before. I do have some images which I won't sacrifice on the side. In all of them, I experiment with different types of aggression. I start lightly and then I apply more pressure to the paper. And the funny thing is that paper wants to fight back. It doesn't want to be altered, but at last it has to give in. In between trying different types of aggression to the crumpled papers, I lay them on the same photographic vista and then rephotograph. Yesterday I was rereading the answers for the shortlisted artists' questions, and I got very emotional because I read that one of my answers was, for the next years, my goal was to be able to exhibit abroad. So I'm really grateful for this. It's been very rewarding for me to see how people react and how my work makes them think and reconsider about their influence in nature. Because at last, this is my main objective, to incite in the viewer a sense of self-reflection and raise awareness and make my small contribution so that we humans can begin to think of a world in harmony with nature and understand that we are part of an alliance, humans and nature together.